Did you know some women carry silent signs of abundance in the most private corners of their bodies? Marks that have nothing to do with beauty, but everything to do with destiny. Not every mole is just a freckle. Some are hidden signals, whispering truths about how a woman is wired to attract wealth, nurture success, and quietly hold the center of her world. They aren't flashy. They aren't obvious. In fact, they often go unnoticed, tucked beneath layers of clothing, behind comfort zones, or in places we were taught not to look too closely at. But ancient traditions across cultures believed that certain private moles, especially 8 specific ones, aren't just physical quirks. They are deeply personal energy points that can silently shape how a woman experiences security, relationships, money, and home life. And here's what's truly fascinating. Most women who have these marks don't even know what they mean. They go about their lives, working hard, loving deeply, giving endlessly, without realizing they might be carrying quiet blueprints of lifelong fortune beneath the surface. If you've ever felt like something in you was built for more peace, more stability, more quiet power, then maybe it's time to take a closer look. Not through a scientific lens, not with superstition, but with a sense of curiosity and reverence for your own body. Because sometimes the most extraordinary clues are not loud. They're soft, they're subtle, and they live in the places we rarely talk about. Today, we're going to explore these 8 sacred locations, not to judge, not to fear, but to reconnect. Your body may be holding more wisdom than you've been taught to believe, and maybe, just maybe, it's time to listen. Are you ready to find out what your hidden marks might be trying to tell you? Section 1. The navel, where wealth begins with the mother's memory. There's something deeply intimate about the navel, an area most of us don't give much thought to, yet it's the very first mark we carry from the moment we entered this world. Before we spoke a word, before we made a single decision, we were connected, through this tiny center, to the one who gave us life. And even though that physical cord was cut, some believe the energetic imprint of that connection never truly goes away. In many ancient teachings, the navel isn't just a biological scar. It's a spiritual anchor, a symbol of inherited energy, of how we receive, store, and channel abundance. When a woman has a mole in or around her navel, especially one that appears clear, red-toned, or well-defined, it's often viewed as a sign that she holds a powerful reservoir of life force. She may not even realize it, but her ability to draw in wealth, protect it, and grow it can often feel intuitive. She just knows how to manage money, make wise choices, or attract supportive partners, not because she's lucky, but because she's aligned with an internal current that's steady and calm. It's not loud, it's not showy, but it's real. Women with this mark often become the quiet backbone of their households. They're the kind who keep everything running behind the scenes, who think 5 steps ahead, who bring stability into chaos without needing to take credit. Their families may not even notice it at first, but over time, everyone leans on them. And that's where the wealth begins, not in sudden jackpots or external success, but in their ability to create long-term security emotionally and financially. If the mole sits above the navel, it may indicate strong instincts for business and timing. These women are natural at spotting opportunity and building quietly toward it. A mole below the navel often shows up in women who are exceptional at budgeting, saving, and ensuring the future feels safe, not just for themselves, but for everyone they love. But not all marks in this area bring abundance. If the mole is pale, blurry, or far from center, it could suggest financial inconsistency. Money comes in but slips through too easily. In that case, it's less about luck and more about awareness. The body may be gently nudging you to pay closer attention to your foundation, to revisit how you receive and hold value, not just in dollars, but in how you treat your own worth. So take a moment. Place your hand over your belly, not to judge, but to acknowledge. The center that once connected you to life may still be offering quiet direction if you're willing to feel it. Because sometimes the most powerful signs aren't written in the stars. They're written on your skin. Section 2, Cleavage, where the heart hides its hidden vault. Some marks don't scream for attention, but they speak volumes to those who listen. A mole in the cleavage area is one of those silent messengers, tucked in a place that rests near the heart, close to the lungs, and centered between two sources of life. It's not just a mark of physical beauty, it's an energetic seal. A vault that stores emotional richness, intuitive wisdom, and a woman's quiet capacity to attract lasting abundance. When a mole appears in this space, especially one that's clean in shape, reddish or pinkish in tone, it's often seen as a sign of deep inner magnetism. Not the loud kind that draws a crowd, but the kind that brings in exactly what a woman needs when she needs it. These women don't chase attention. They don't need to. Their energy speaks before they do. There's a natural elegance, a steady rhythm in how they relate to others, make financial decisions, and move through life. And at the core of it is emotional intelligence, not the kind taught in books, but the kind born from listening to one's own heart long enough to know what truly matters. The position of the mole adds its own subtle layer of meaning. A mole closer to the left may belong to someone who leads with emotion, warm, generous, fiercely loyal in love and family. Her abundance flows from her ability to give wholeheartedly, and it often returns to her in deep, meaningful relationships. A mole leaning right often points to a woman who is more strategic, independent, business-minded, naturally attuned to opportunity. She's the quiet architect behind strong partnerships, sometimes the unspoken force behind someone else's success. But in both cases, the mole is a reminder. Abundance is never just about money. It's about emotional flow, how well you receive love, how gracefully you give it, and how consistently you stay centered when the world around you tilts. On a deeper level, this area of the body holds breath, our literal life force. So when a mole appears here, it may also be asking you to check in with your pace. Are you breathing deeply enough to live fully? Or are you holding tension where softness should be? Women with this mark are often seen as the heart of their home, strong enough to lead, soft enough to listen. But if the mole is dark, distorted, or surrounded by skin that feels heavy, it could signal emotional overexertion, loving too hard, giving too much, forgetting to replenish. So pause, place your hand between your collarbones, feel the rise and fall of your breath. That space, the one you rarely notice, may be carrying more than you know. And it may be the very vault where your wealth, peace, and emotional power quietly live. Section 3, Inner Thigh, Quiet Strength that Carries Everything. There's something about the inner thigh that feels deeply personal, not just physically, but symbolically. It's not a place we show. It's not a place we often think about. And yet, in many traditional teachings, this area is known as one of the body's most grounding zones, a space that holds resilience, privacy, and silent power. When a woman has a mole on her inner thigh, it's not about allure. It's not about sexuality. It's about the quiet engine that keeps her grounded, even when life spins sideways. These women don't seek the spotlight. They don't post loud declarations. But give them a challenge, and they will carry it, carefully, steadily, and without needing recognition. A clear, well-shaped mole in this area often signifies someone who is emotionally anchored. She may not be loud or overly expressive, but she knows what she stands for. She listens more than she speaks. She observes before she acts. And when she moves, she does so with intention. These women build their lives quietly. They're the ones working behind the scenes, making sure everything stays together while others are chasing attention. They don't rush. They don't panic. They simply endure, and that endurance becomes their greatest strength. From an energetic perspective, the inner thigh is closely tied to the root of the body, the center of survival, belonging, and long-term stability. A mole here can mean that a woman carries natural instincts for protection. She might not manage every detail, but her presence brings a sense of safety. Children cling to her. Partners rely on her. Friends turn to her when things fall apart, but there's something else. This mole doesn't just speak to personal resilience. It's also a marker of emotional clarity. These women tend to see through noise. They're hard to manipulate, difficult to sway, and not easily thrown off their path. If the mole is a soft red or light brown, often called a blessing mark, it enhances this energy even more. It points to someone who trusts her inner compass, who doesn't follow trends but instead chooses based on timing, wisdom, and gut instinct. However, if the mole is dull, gray, or oddly shaped, it could suggest unbalanced energy, like a battery that's low but still expected to power everything. In those cases, the message may be simple. You've been carrying too much for too long. So pause, sit still. Breathe into the space between your thighs, not with shame, but with respect. Because hidden in that quiet place is the kind of strength no one teaches, no one praises, but everyone eventually depends on. And maybe that's where your fortune has always been, in the quiet strength that never needed to be loud. Section 4, Buttocks, the bank of fortune that grows with time. There's a reason people associate strong, rounded buttocks with stability. It's not just about appearance, it's about presence. This part of the body represents grounding. It's what helps us sit, stand, carry, and endure. And when a woman has a mole here, especially one that's well-defined, red-toned, or placed on a naturally balanced area, it may be more than just a random mark. It could be a signal of stored fortune, the kind that doesn't arrive overnight but grows slowly, steadily, almost silently. Women with this mark often have lives that blossom later. In their 20s, they might feel overlooked, even underwhelmed, but something shifts with time. Around midlife, often after 35, they begin to step into an entirely different energy. Things start to make sense. Relationships settle. Finances stabilize. Confidence blooms not from external praise, but from a quiet knowing. I've made it this far, and I'm not done yet. A mole on the left buttock may belong to a woman who thrives in creativity, writing, design, art, anything that lets her express. Her fortune flows not in predictable patterns, but in waves, linked to inspiration, connection, and authenticity. A mole on the right side often appears in women with a natural mind for strategy. These are the quiet builders, business owners, investors, problem solvers. They don't waste time. They don't waste energy. And their ability to turn small moments into major gains is almost uncanny. Regardless of side, a well-placed mole here points to wealth that is rooted, not rushed. These women are often the kind who learn from every mistake, recover from every loss, and build back stronger than before. Their fortune isn't just money, it's wisdom, it's patience, it's knowing how to build something that lasts. However, if the mole is dark, painful to touch, or located in a sunken, uneven area, it could indicate blocked energy. This may show up as recurring instability, plans that never settle, money that slips through, or emotions that cycle without resolution. In those cases, the message may be physical and emotional. It's time to stop overextending. Time to rest. Time to treat your body like the bank of fortune it's always been, worthy of protection, investment, and deep care. So the next time you sit down, feel the strength beneath you. That's your foundation, your balance, your quiet center. You don't need applause to prove your worth. The fortune you're growing doesn't make noise, but it's there. And when the time is right, it will hold you exactly the way you've held everything else. Section 5. Nipple, where love and survival intertwine. Few parts of the body carry as much meaning as the nipple. It's where nourishment begins. It's where comfort lives. It's where love and survival intersect in the most human way possible. When a woman has a mole on or near the nipple, it's not just a mark, it's a message. A quiet reminder that her emotional world, her nurturing capacity, and her inner strength are deeply connected. This area, so often hidden, represents more than intimacy. It holds the blueprint of how a woman loves, gives, and receives care, not just in romantic relationships, but in how she raises children, how she supports her family, and how she shows up for herself. A mole on the left nipple is often seen as a sign of someone with a soft but powerful emotional core. She's the woman who feels everything deeply, sincerely, and without pretense. She doesn't just hear people, she understands them. Friends come to her not just to talk, but to be seen. Her home becomes a space of emotional warmth, where people feel safe just being themselves. Her love is generous, sometimes too generous. If she's not careful, she may give so much of herself that she forgets where her own boundaries begin. A mole on the right nipple, by contrast, often points to a woman with a strong sense of self. She's loving, yes, but also discerning. She knows what she deserves and rarely settles for less. Her energy is magnetic not because she's trying to impress anyone, but because she's fully anchored in her own worth. She tends to attract partners who are equally driven and supportive. She raises children with independence in mind, teaching them to think, lead, and stand on their own. But with this mark comes responsibility. Because when you love deeply, whether you lean tender or strong, you also become vulnerable. Emotional exhaustion, burnout, and self-neglect can creep in quietly. Especially for women with this mole, there's often a pattern of putting others first. The message from the body may be simple: don't forget to nourish yourself. If the mole is dark, blurred, or located near areas of tension or discomfort, it could indicate emotional depletion. Not a flaw, just a signal. An invitation to slow down, breathe deeper, and turn some of that love inward. So take a quiet moment. Place your hand over your chest, not to inspect, but to honor. The body that feeds others, comforts others, supports others, is still yours, still worthy, still sacred. And if there's a mark there, it may not just be a mole. It may be a lifelong reminder that love is your language and strength is how you speak it. Section 6. Triangle below the navel, the sacred intersection of life energy. There's a quiet power in the space just below the navel. It's not something we talk about openly. It's not visible in the mirror. But it holds more than most people realize. For women, this area, forming a subtle triangle between the lower abdomen and the top of the pelvis, is one of the body's most symbolic crossroads. It's where creation, intuition, and emotional grounding meet. When a mole appears in this zone, especially one that's soft in color, balanced in shape, or centered with symmetry, it's often seen as a deeply sacred sign. It may indicate a woman who carries not just strength, but a kind of quiet knowing. Someone who doesn't need to be told what's right because she feels it. She trusts herself, and that self-trust becomes the root of everything else. This part of the body is closely linked to fertility. not just in the biological sense, but in a broader energetic way. It speaks to a woman's ability to generate ideas, nurture relationships, and sustain whatever she chooses to grow, be it a family, a dream, or a home filled with peace. Women with this mark often live with quiet depth. They're not loud, not reactive, and not easily shaken. They carry the kind of emotional weight that steadies others, even when they themselves are going through storms. Their gift is in how they hold space, not by controlling, but by creating an environment where others feel safe enough to be themselves. But like all sacred spaces, this one asks to be respected. If the mole is dark, distorted, or located in a tense or uncomfortable spot, it could signal blocked energy. This might show up as emotional numbness, difficulty connecting, or a sense of being drained even when life seems fine on the surface. In those cases, the body may be saying, it's time to clear space. Time to release what's been held too long, old memories, unspoken pain, or patterns that no longer serve you. Because this triangle isn't just a zone of storage. It's a generator, a pulse point. And when it's clear, everything flows better, your creativity, your relationships, your sense of direction. So take a breath. Place your hand below your navel, right at the center. Not to analyze, but to acknowledge, this isn't just a part of your body. It's a gate, a portal, a reminder that you were born not only to survive, but to create. To carry life, yes, but also to carry purpose. And maybe, just maybe, that quiet mole is your invitation to step back into that power. Section 7, under the breast, where emotions become endurance. Not all strength is loud. Some of it lives quietly beneath the surface, where emotion, memory, and resilience settle into something deeper. The area under the breast is one of those spaces. It's not easily seen. It's not easily explained. But it holds something powerful. It's where emotion becomes endurance. When a woman has a mole in this tucked-away area, especially one that is soft in tone, clear in shape, or gently defined, it often points to a lifetime of quiet strength. These are the women who don't need to prove anything. They've likely experienced difficulty, maybe even hardship early in life. But instead of being broken by it, they've learned how to carry it, gracefully, privately, and without complaint. A mole under the left breast often aligns with emotional depth. These women feel deeply, but they don't perform it. Their emotions aren't worn on their sleeves. Instead, they live in the way they show up consistently, love quietly, and stay grounded when others unravel. They tend to be deeply intuitive, able to read the room without a word. They sense what people need, sometimes before those people know it themselves. A mole under the right breast, in contrast, often reveals a more logical, structured strength. These women approach life with clarity and discipline. They are thoughtful decision makers, great planners, and the kind of people others trust in a crisis. Their energy is clean, composed, and calming. Regardless of side, this mark usually belongs to a woman who builds quietly. While others seek attention, she builds foundation. While others chase trends, she watches patterns. Her reward comes not in quick wins, but in long-term peace. But even with this gift, there can be imbalance. If the mole appears dark, heavy, or in a place of tension or discomfort, it may reflect unprocessed grief or emotional buildup. This part of the body often becomes a silent shelf where unspoken worries and unresolved pain are stored year after year. And the message is simple: you've held enough. It's okay to let go now, so take a deep breath. Place your palm beneath your chest. Feel the weight not of the world, but of your own quiet history. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. This is what happens when emotion is given time to mature, when pain is met with patience. When love doesn't burn out, but burns slow, like an ember that never dies. If there's a mark there, it may be a reminder you've already proven your strength. Now the work is remembering to rest in it. Section 8, Inner Hip, the silent compass that balances your path. There's a part of your body most people never think about, not because it lacks importance, but because it stays so quiet, so consistent, that it's easy to overlook. The inner hip, tucked where the waist begins to shift into the leg, acts like a hinge for the entire body. It's where movement meets stability. And when a woman has a mole in this area, it may not be loud or obvious, but its message is clear. She was built to navigate change. A well-shaped, softly colored mole on the inner hip is often linked to adaptability, the kind that isn't reactive but rooted. These women don't crumble under pressure. They don't flinch when life changes plans. Instead, they adjust, gracefully, instinctively, because their center isn't shaken by what's outside. A mole on the left inner hip tends to align with emotional intuition. These women have a quiet read on people, places, and energy. They may not say much, but they see everything. They're hard to deceive, not because they're skeptical, but because they're deeply observant. Their silence is not emptiness, it's attention. And when they speak, people listen. A mole on the right inner hip, meanwhile, is often found in women who are strategic communicators. They're quick, persuasive, and usually excellent at spotting opportunities others miss. Whether in business, negotiation, or creative work, their ability to pivot without panic gives them a steady edge. But no matter which side the mark appears, one truth remains. These women don't need to control the world. They just need to stay aligned within themselves. The inner hip is where balance lives. When it's strong and clear, life moves smoother. But if the mole is dark, irregular, or surrounded by physical discomfort, it may reflect tension held too long. Perhaps there's indecision. Perhaps there's emotional weight from years of adapting for others while ignoring personal truth. The message isn't to push harder, it's to realign. To remember that balance isn't just about posture, it's about values, boundaries, and direction. So pause, place your hands on your hips, feel the steadiness underneath. That's your compass, not the loud kind that demands attention, but the kind that always knows where true north is. If you carry a mark there, it's not random. It's a quiet signature. A reminder that you were built to move through life with grace, not force. And when the world asks you to bend, shift, or pivot, you'll do it. Not because you're unsure, but because you know exactly who you are. That's what balance really is. And your body has been showing you all along. Final, maybe by now you've started to see things differently. Not just your skin, not just these 8 mole locations, but the way your body has been holding your story all along. Quietly, faithfully, without needing your attention to do its work. Because here's the truth. These marks we explored, whether they sit near your heart or deep along your hips, are not predictions. They're not promises or punishments. They're reflections. Subtle indicators of how your energy flows, how you move through life, how you love, lead, protect, and endure. Some moles point to abundance that builds with time. Others whisper of emotional depth, resilience, or a natural intuition that's hard to explain. But all of them, in their own way, invite one simple question. What part of you have you been ignoring, hiding, or forgetting to honor? We live in a world that praises the external, accomplishments, appearances, how fast we climb, or how loud we win. But the real wealth, the lasting kind, is often built quietly. In the way you hold space for others, in the way you love without conditions, in the way you show up every day for people who might never even say thank you. Your body remembers everything. It holds patterns, emotional, energetic, generational. And sometimes, a single mole can be a gentle reminder to return home to yourself. To notice what you've inherited, what you've overcome, and what you're still here to create. So whether you have one of these marks or none at all, the invitation remains the same. Listen. Your body may not speak in words, but it speaks in balance, in sensation, in symbols. And if you're willing to slow down long enough to hear it, you might just realize everything you've been looking for all along has already been marked within you. Not for fate to decide, but for you to live.